Thronebreaker, The Witcher Tales. So this is the spin-off to the Witcher franchise made by CD Projekt Red. So this, I believe, is set before The Witcher 2. It has to be because there's a character who's constantly mentioned in this game who, spoilers for the very opening of The Witcher 2, he dies in the opening of The Witcher 2. So this is a game based on the card game Gwent. Now, you're probably thinking, right, so you're just playing cards? No. One of the things I was really surprised at is that this is essentially a fully fledged, almost open world RPG. You're playing as Meve, the queen of Livia and Rivia, or it might just be Livia. The whole storyline is that the Nilfgaardians are going up north, they're trying to take over, and you're just fighting back. It's a war story. The story is actually the best part about it. I would say it's a little too long. It took me probably about 40 hours, 50 hours to complete, which is really long. It does drag on in the middle, I would say. There's elements of the story that don't need to be there, but it starts off well. There's a great twist, at the beginning, and I think it ends well as well. You do get to make choices. It is an RPG. Some of the choices really tough, and they do feed into the ending. There are multiple endings. So some of the choices might involve you coming across a town where the villagers are harassing an elf because they don't like elves. Your choice might be to step in and help the elf, or it could be to step in and help the villagers. Now, the choice does have repercussions though. On one hand, yes, you come across as good and nice by helping the elf, but by helping the elf, you could be lowering the morale of your forces and your soldiers because they are racist and xenophobic. There's a lot of story elements like this getting in there, really putting the hard choice in your hands because, yes, you can be all goody two shoes and nice, but at the end of the day, you have to fight this war, and if your soldiers aren't backing you up, you're going to have a harder time doing it. So it really makes you think and makes these choices matter. And you might be thinking, right, so this is card games, so all you're doing in terms of actual gameplay is playing cards, that's all the combat is. Well, yes and no. They've changed the rules of Gwent from The Witcher 3, so it's not exactly what you played in The Witcher 3. It's a little different. There are new cards, of course, new powers and abilities. There's only 2 rows on each side now rather than 3 on each side. One of the things they've done is there are now rounds in which you have so many moves you can make in a round. In The Witcher 3, you could do however moves you wanted per round. Now they've really put a limit on that. There are now also puzzle elements in there, so some of the card battles might not be just get the highest number and beat your opponent. It could be, right, you've got to move this particular card from the left-hand side of the board to the right-hand side, or you've got to defeat all your enemies without losing any of your forces. So it's really smart. It makes you think. There's a lot of tactical stuff in there. Some of them are really challenging as well. But the point I'm making here is it's not just the typical Gwent game. There's a lot of variety in there as well. Some surprising variety. But towards the end of the game, I will say that you just seem to get an onslaught of random battles and card games and puzzles. It just seems like it's throwing everything at you because it doesn't have the typical boss fights. Although there are kind of boss encounters in the game, kind of. But again, they do play out in the card games. And of course, they do have the typical Gwent battles with one side versus the other. But the problem with the game is that it really is just too long. That, like I said, 40 to 50 hours is my playthrough, and it dragged a bit. If you're a big fan of The Witcher, though, I would say you definitely have to pick it up, because it does tell a very interesting story in that universe.